Welcome to Monkey See,
Monkey Review.
where this week we're going to be covering episode 4 of What If Doctor Strange lost his heart instead of his hands.
So, time out. If you have not watched this episode, please go watch it. Come back. Let's talk about it because spoilers will commence now.
Bro, like this whole episode, like it was as dark as it was emotionally devastating. Oh man, this episode was like incredible though. I love this episode. It was I'm not gonna say it was my favorite. Still got that Chadwick Boseman for the T'Challa episode.
It was still just a fun episode.
That was still just a fun episode. It was a whole different level of entertainment.
Yeah.
This one though, this one hit so hard that it really just like left me sitting there at the end of it just going, not what if, but what did I just watch?
Exactly.
So, what do you think?
I loved it. It was interesting, from the watcher's perspective, basically watching Doctor Strange destroy his universe completely.
Yeah.
I mean, his universe is gone.
Yes.
And just the torment that he did to himself,
Yep.
it was interesting.
And not even to mention the lengths he went to make it happen.
Yeah. Centuries.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Centuries.
yeah. Oh, goodness, dude. So, all right. Let's get into the breakdown of the episode real quick. Essentially, what you do is you open up the episode, watchers talking as the
Normal.
watcher does.
Yeah.
He not just watches. He don't shut up either. So he's like talking about choices and things like that, and he's like really being ominous. And then you see Stephen Strange pulling up in his vehicle. I don't even remember what it was. It was really similar to the one that it was exactly like the one he was driving in Doctor Strange. But he's picking up his girlfriend, Christine. Correct? Christine? Yes, that's what I was thinking. So he's picking Christine up. This is when they are either still together or in this universe, they never split up. They're going to some kind of banquet where he's going to be speaking about.
He's accepting an award.
He's accepting an award, and he's going to be giving a speech about the procedure he did, where it's a procedure where you literally will sever the brain in half. And what they do, this is a real procedure to help people keep from having seizures. This is a real medical procedure that he is, really like apparently in this universe is the first time it's ever happened. So they're on their way and they're talking. She's super into Strange, like she's super into him, and he's like flirting back, and then she's like, "Oh, it's super cute, man! Like just the way they were playing off each other." So he starts to go around a truck, sees a car, gets back in his lane, and then he gets rear-ended by someone else just flying up on them out of nowhere.
Yep.
And the crash was the exact same crash that was in the Doctor Strange movie, but instead in this one, instead of him losing his hands and having to go through the rehabilitation and things to try to get his hands working again, Christine dies.
Yep.
And
that's what motivates him to go find the mystic arts.
yes, he becomes extremely depressed, understandably so. Just lost the love of his life in this universe. So he's like, okay, I'm going to travel the world, try to find comfort and solace and, new meaning for life, and comes into contact with the
Sorcerer
ancient,
Supreme.
the ancient one,
Ancient
the
One,
Sorcerer
Supreme.
Supremes, Wong, that whole crew.
Yeah.
And we don't get much on that. It was really quick, really
Pretty
brief.
much the story unfolds just like it did in Doctor Strange the movie.
Yeah.
The whole
Yeah, the training, the whole thing.
everything.
He finds the time stone.
Saves
and,
the world.
Right, the whole nine. But he still cannot bring himself to. Wow. Okay. Poor dog. It's a shoe, I swear. So we find out that he still can't come to grips with losing Christine. And him and Wong comes in. He's just like, come with me. I'll make some tea before you make a bad decision. Well,
Crossroads.
yes, that's the pivotal moment when we find out that something is going to be different than what we saw in our universe. He then goes and starts to try to bring her back. He creates a time loop. The same way we saw him create a time loop with Dormammu, he creates a time loop now where he goes back and relives that night over and over and over again, trying to find a way to save her.
And no version that he can come up with
Right.
does she survive. She dies in every single one. And he said that was an absolute point.
Yes.
That's what they called it. And there's no way for you to change an absolute point in time.
Right. So we find out that there is, in that absolute point, no matter what, she's going to die. I mean, he went as far as like, okay, we're not going. We're just going to go down the street and have dinner. She gets hit by a car, dies. He's like, okay, we're just going to go grab a slice of pizza. Somebody comes in, robs the place. She dies. I mean, no matter what, like he even blows her off and was like, oh, okay, I'm just not going to go pick her up. We find out her apartment building burns down.
Yep.
And she dies. So no matter what, he can't change it. And then essentially the spirit of the Ancient One shows up and is like,
Well, that's the Ancient One from that point in time,
Yes.
right? So she knows what's going on. She still knows that what his future is
well,
going to be.
she's dead.
Yeah, but
It's
Yeah,
a
but
really
it's-
timey-wimey
yeah,
episode.
so
it's very
like
strange.
the Ancient One from that time period
Yes.
at that point in time where he's in the time loop.
Yes.
In that time, that would be the Ancient One at that
Right.
point. So she knows what's
Right.
going on because she's the Ancient One, so she knows the future
Exactly.
and what
Come on.
he's going to do, right? So that's where the Ancient One comes back in at this point. So yes, she is dead, but
Yes.
not yet.
Yeah.
Right? So it's very interesting. Yeah.
Like we made this joke a lot with Loki. Like I feel like I need a whiteboard and some
Yeah.
markers to be able
Gotta
to. Yeah.
Connect the dots in order. And then at that point, she confronts him about
Yeah.
it. And, she casts a spell, which we think that
We don't know what's going on.
Yes.
She does something, and he's like, all right, I'm done. And he takes himself and he goes back in time to find the sorcerer Cagliostro
and his library.
in his library.
Yeah.
Because, this is where we find a lot of the books in Doctor Strange. They had that little library, tiny little library compared to what we find. He finds Cagliostro and goes into his library, and it's ginormous. And he's like, I'm trying to find a way to change this. And what we find out is the guy that he's already met, and right outside this building, is actually Cagliostro. And so, blah blah blah. Moving forward, he's like, okay, well, I've got to become strong enough that I can change this point in time. And he starts opening some very dark and demonic portals. But the very first one he opens, did you notice it?
Yes.
It's the same portal we see come out of the first episode when the Red Skull opens that portal. It's the same tentacles coming out, which the mini angle one, potentially so there's that connection point.
Yep.
That's very cool. Pretty much gets his tail handed to him because they're just like, no, we ain't playing with you.
Yep.
Knock him down. He then's like, okay, well, change of plan. So he changes the plan. He starts absorbing smaller magical creatures all the way up. And man, that was an intense scene.
I mean, he's taken everything he possibly can.
Yes.
And then just, you can see the change in his demeanor, his mentality. I love the point where the bug pops up with the cool cape.
Yes.
Cool cape, but draw the line at bugs.
Yeah.
Not taking a bug. But I'll take your cape, though. So, yeah.
Snatches the cape off of him, throws the bug back through the portal. He's gone. So, yeah. And then continually progressive to the point that he starts absorbing bigger and more evil, demonic-looking creatures. And then, and like you said, as he goes through, his demeanor changes, his face changes, his structure changes. He physically changes as he's absorbing them to resemble them, and then goes back to his normal human form until he gets to the point where he can again take on the mini angled ones. He opens the portal and literally cuts off a bunch of the tentacles that are coming out. He just cuts them off and absorbs all of them into himself.
Couldn't take on the whole creature.
Right,
Only a portion of it.
right. Then we find out that when the Ancient One appeared to Strange earlier in the episode, when she was explaining to him, hey, this is a moment you can't change, we find out what she did is she split Doctor Strange in two. So she took his good half, she took his bad half. She took the good half and let it continue on its trajectory. And he learned to eventually accept what had happened and moved on. And then the dark side didn't. So
Yeah,
we
because
can-
you see the scene where Wong, says you're about to do something stupid, and he says, "Yeah, you're right." So he puts down the eye and walks away like, "Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that." Then he's moved on. He's going to accept it.
yeah.
And then we find out, okay, his timeline is starting to deteriorate.
Yes, he walks out the front door and like everything is, instead of turning to dust, is turning to like this liquidy ink kind of
Yeah.
solution. Like everything's like starting to evaporate
Yeah.
in this black inky mess. Even Wong.
Yes.
So he comes back in. He's like, Wong, we got a problem. Wong's like, you
You kidding me?
who you telling?
Yep.
So, because like Wong is starting to like deteriorate too. So they start creating all these spells protecting Stephen Strange, the good Stephen Strange, to say, okay, this is going to help you because you're about to have to go and battle something. We're not sure exactly what yet.
Yeah.
And then they go back to that moment where evil Strange shows up, which is now the Sorcerer Supreme. And then we've got Stephen Strange, the good, and we have an all-out wizard war, which was really incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those moments, like, even their capes start battling
Yeah.
each other. I was like, that's awesome.
And evil Doctor Strange, he was giving it to him.
He was. Like, he was not holding back.
If it wasn't for the protection spells,
Yes, he
would
would have been
taken
done
out.
in no time.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he eventually winds up wiping all the protection spells, takes him to the floor, and essentially absorbs him too.
So he is now whole.
He is now whole, and with that, he resurrects and brings back Christine. And it was a beautiful moment. Literally a moment.
Well, she wakes up and he's transformed
Yes.
himself. So she's not seen Stephen
Yeah.
Strange.
He
She's
can
seen him
he
as
can
a
no longer
monster.
yeah, he can no longer hold his normal human appearance. All the creatures he's absorbed are now part of his manifestation. And of course she like freaks out. But in that moment what he's done is he has destroyed that universe.
Completely.
And she starts to evaporate too.
Yeah.
And the Watcher actually manifests and says, "Hey, this is on you. This
Yeah,
is
'cause
what happens."
Doctor Strange ends up doing like a crystal,
Yes.
right? So he does his
The
spell. which
mirror
kinda-
dimension.
Yeah, so he does the mirror dimension, and then trying to stop it, but
Mm-hmm.
even though it's still not stopping, then it's when the Watcher appears.
Yes.
And then it was interesting. Doctor Strange was like, "I felt your presence.
Yes.
I know who you are. I've read about you.
Right.
You're a god. Help me."
Yes. But there's many interesting things. Essentially, okay, we'll come back to that in a second because that's something I really want to touch on. But essentially, what happens? Watcher's like, "Dude, you brought this on yourself. You can't do nothing about it. Deuces."
Even if I could, I'm not.
Yeah, exactly. So everything collapses in on itself, and essentially the mirror dimension turns into like this small crystal-looking thing.
Yeah.
Really interesting, which I think we're going to come back to later. I think we're going to get that again. I do think we're going to get a big crossover where the Watcher is watching all these other dimensions to pull in all these people to make like a multi-dimensional Avengers team.
So he can actually interfere, and it's not him, but his team that will
Exactly.
help.
Exactly. So I think that's where we're heading. I'm calling it now. I may be completely off, but I think that's where we're going because we didn't see Strange die. He didn't disappear. He was literally imprisoned to his own self in a mirror dimension because that's what he did. He threw up the mirror dimension to try to stop everything from coming in on him.
And even so, Christine still. Bye-bye.
Bye. She's gone. But throughout this whole episode, we have seen throughout this whole series. We're 4 episodes in. Every episode, the Watcher becomes a little bit more visible in his form.
Every time, yeah.
Every episode, we get a little bit more of him, where he's a little bit more tangible, no longer just the eyes and the space and silhouette. So I really think that's where we're heading. Is we're going to get this big story later where they're all working together. And he is essentially just watching who he needs to pull together to make this happen.
Could be. It also could be a glimpse into what is happening in the Marvel Universe currently. In the MCU with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Coming up, yep.
We got Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yep.
A lot of people are speculating, like you've talked about, that that's not are Stephen Strange.
Right.
Right. So what's going on there?
Yes. Yes.
So this could be a glimpse at potentially something that they might throw into the MCU.
I feel like the next 4 years of MCU content is just going to be absolutely insane.
Probably.
Like, I mean, we saw it starting with Loki. I mean, WandaVision, then Loki. Now we're getting, this whole thing with No Way Home with Spider-Man. Then we're getting Multiverse of Madness. We know we're getting Quantumania. Like, everything's just popping off, going insane, dude. Mm-hmm. I'm stoked.
It's going to be good.
I am so fired up. I am excited.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you. Like, everybody who wants to have a conversation with me about this stuff, I'm like, just sit down. Mm-hmm. Like, I've got so many ideas, so many theories. It's just like, you just better be ready.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. But as far as this episode goes, I loved this episode. Like, it was so dark, so twisted, but at the same time, it really touched you because it really just appealed to your humanity of like, he really just loved Christine so much. He didn't think he could live his life without her no matter what happened.
And he'll go to any means necessary to save her, even though killed the universe to do it.
Yeah, man, it really up in the feels on this one. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought it was absolutely worth everyone giving it a check out. So what would you rate this one?
Probably going to go 3.9.
3.9?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 4.5 because, again, we're on a scale of 5, 1 to 5. For anybody who gets upset, 1 to 5. But yeah, it was just emotionally, man. I was just like all over the place. Like, y'all are really hitting hard. Y'all are really hitting in the feels, no matter how dark it got. He really was just doing this out of a pure love for her. Oh, goodness. Yep. Great episode.
It was good.
If we
can't wait until next week.
Yeah, if we keep getting it writing like this is going to be an incredible series.
Yeah.
And rumor is already they've approved a season 2.
They need to.
If this is the writing we can get, the storytelling we can get, absolutely need a season 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah. And they need to hurry up with it.
Yes. We give you 9 episodes. That way you can just turn around, pop out 9 more.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Really. But anyways, any other takeaways from this episode, man?
No,
any other thoughts, theories?
Excited.
Yeah.
Excited about it all, man.
This is the Marvel, the MCU, dude. It's just popping off.
Nothing else like it.
Right.
Some people don't like Disney. I see that on some points, but Disney's bringing it.
Right.
They're bringing good content consistently. Bringing good content.
Yes.
And no one else has been able to do anything like the MCU.
Right.
Period.
Absolutely not.
I mean, nothing on that level. I mean, you still have, great series like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, things like that, but nothing on the scale of the MCU with the amount of movies, shows now. Right. Everything's all connected, intertwined. Mm-hmm. It's brilliant.
Yep. Absolutely. It's incredible. But anyways, we could talk about that all night long. That'd be a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
So tell you what, do us a favor. Hit that like.
Subscribe.
And share this with a friend. Leave some comments. Let's talk about it because you have no idea. This really does help the algorithm for people to sit there and say they're engaging with our content, and it promotes us to other people who may be interested. So, tell you what, we love you. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.